but it should. And I know it's something you want to talk about, and that's what's going on in Pakistan.
Pakistan right now, Paul, to me is the most overlooked country that's being intensely focused on, and the most dangerous country perhaps in the world. We forget sometimes, if we ever knew, that Pakistan is the biggest nuclear proliferator in the world. The AQ Khan network is essentially what allowed countries like Iran and North Korea, and I could say some others that are, I think, still classified, to obtain the kind of information, the kind of plans, the kind of drawings even, that allowed them to pursue a nuclear program that could lead to a nuclear weapon. No question in my mind that North Korea benefited from AQ Khan in acquiring its nuclear weapon. So just from that perspective, Pakistan is a country to watch. They're the only true successful nuclear proliferator in the world, unless you count us having given Israel the bomb through our lax security. At the same time, there are probably more suicide bombers preparing for action in Pakistan than any other single place in the world. One estimate is as high as 40,000. The reason those suicide bombers are not unleashed on us yet, that is to say inside our own borders, is because they have such a target-rich environment in places like Pakistan and even more so Afghanistan, and increasingly in other areas that we are giving them a target-rich environment, like Libya, for example. So that's happening. They're training suicide bombers. At the same time, you've got these things that gather attention around them, but don't register with Americans in the way they should with regard to the danger of this country, like the attack on the young girl, Malala Yousafzai. And the horrible way that she was damaged. You also have, at the same time, organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba, one of the most deadly terrorist networks developing now, probably had something to do with the attacks in Mumbai, India, for example. You also have the Haqqani network and the Taliban, and still major support for both within Pakistan. You also have in the ranks of the Pakistani military, heretofore the sort of stability building institution in Pakistan, you have more and more in the lower ranks Islamists, to the sense that I would say one day they might sympathize more so and more openly with people like the Taliban and others and become radical themselves. So you have a huge problem in Pakistan that is basically being ignored so that we can continue to get the logistic support and access and so forth that we need to carry out our campaign in Afghanistan and also to carry out the drone strikes.
Well, one of the arguments is that the drone strikes aren't helping.
Very
because
counterproductive.
It's helping to add fuel to the fire of people that want to do these sorts of things.
Very counterproductive. In fact, I go back to Donald Rumsfeld's little snowflake, which he sent out, and he essentially said, tell me how us killing 2 terrorists and creating 10 is a winning strategy. And what we're doing now is we're creating, here's something I heard, Paul, that is probably not very far from the truth. This from a former CIA agent. In 2000, there probably were somewhere between 300 and 500 people in the world, terrorists, let us call them, who really wanted to inflict damage on the United States of America and had either the support or the capacity inside them, their own organization, to actually do it. There are probably 50,000 today. And one of the reasons for that order of magnitude increase in people wishing to hurt the United States is our own policy, principally our policies in the Middle East. And you can tick those policies off, from failure to do anything about, in a balanced way, the Israeli-Palestinian issue, which I'd put at the top of the list, to drone strikes, to invasion of Iraq, to lingering forces in Kuwait and Iraq, and so forth. Our policies are causing what Donald Rumsfeld thought was a mathematical conundrum, that is impossible to deal with and say you're successful, to be a reality that I don't even think Donald Rumsfeld ever contemplated.
Right.
We are creating a lot of people who want to do harm to us.
All right, we'll talk more about all this after the next presidential debate on foreign policy. Thanks very much for joining us, Larry.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.